Ollie. When surfing the web, you find a lot of AGV bashing out there. Is it for a reason?
Yeah, well, actually, there are many use cases and environments where AGVs perform pretty well. And this is why we decided to make a whole episode on use cases for AMRs and AGVs.
Automation Awakenings, your weekly dose of best practices for logistics automation.
Welcome to the 7th episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast. Again, with a video, still feeling special about it, but
Sure.
we are getting used to it, and we are eager to continue this way. So, today's topic, quite interesting one, because as we mentioned in the introduction, it sometimes feels that AGVs are already written off, but we think it's not for a good reason, actually.
Yeah, that's true. As we mentioned in our short intro, we found actually that there are really nice use cases, and the best fitting solution is the AGV and not an AMR.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm happy that we have the time today to talk about these use cases. And we will have a look on environments where AGVs fit best and AMRs fit maybe better in other use cases.
Looking forward to it. So, which one do we start with?
Yeah, well, in our last episodes, we were talking about, AGVs are rather for fixed environments where the paths are clear and you don't need so much flexibility. So I would start with AGVs, of course, and let's go to a typical logistics use case, the warehouse. As simple as it is, there are cases where you are transporting goods from A to B. Let's give it a clear example, packaging material. Yeah.
Okay.
It's usually always A to B. The path is clear. There are no surprises, and it must be there in the right time. So my first example would be the warehouse in general. If you have clear relationships between the source and the destination. And as a real example, I would go for packaging.
But how about manual traffic in this warehouse? Would it be rather on the low side or the high side of the scale?
Manual traffic?
Yeah.
You mean forklifts operated by human persons?
Yeah. Forklifts, V&A trucks, stand-up trucks, whatever. So
Yeah.
Would that make a difference to your judgment? Or are you rather talking about one of these, say, dark warehouses where there's almost no human interaction or interference with the robots?
I go rather for your second story, and the warehouse doesn't have to be dark, but AGVs need free paths. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, if you can handle it from organizational point of view, that other devices can always somehow avoid the AGV, then it's still okay. But the better solution would be that they have a completely clear path.
Yeah.
And when I think about, again, my packaging example, usually this packaging areas, they should be reserved for this material, and you should not have much other traffic, especially not, I call it strange traffic with bicycles or persons running around there.
Yeah, yeah. No, but then I can totally agree, because I would also go with AGVs in all use cases where there's a rather low interference with manual fleets, which guarantee that the robot doesn't have to do obstacle avoidance, which of course the AGV is not capable of. And also where there is no risk of damaging the magnetic stripe or the reflectors that you sometimes still need for the AGV.
That's a very important factor, actually, because we all know how easy it is to destroy a magnetic tape or any kind of tape with one forklift wheel. It's a matter of seconds, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's really annoying when you have to redo or repaint or re-glue, whatever, these tapes or reflectors. So I think we agree on this one. What's your second use case?
Yeah, my second case is another typical logistic case, and I would go for a nice tugger train. Yeah, you can automate it with an AGV. It's always the same path, always the same stations. Sometimes you have to wait. A button has to be pushed because some cars need to be added, for example. That's fine. But then the AGV can continue its path on its route. And here I have a nice example of if it stops, I really want to stop it and to get this information and to deal with the problem why it stopped. I don't want that it passes by because the milk run route must be empty. I need a reliable milk run timing. I need that the milk run arrives at the station at the right time. Otherwise, I will get an overflow finished goods material, for example, or components will not get in the right time to the line, which would be a disaster. I don't want that a mobile robot decides for a different route or passes by some obstacles.
Yeah.
This must be reliable and it must arrive just in time.
Totally agree. So I also have environments with very sensitive takt times as one of the classic use cases, because obviously you want a really reliable vehicle or technology to deliver the goods without having surprises like obstacle avoidance or changes of routes.
Yeah, I think in general we can say as soon as you are transporting goods to a production line and there is a certain time cycle behind that and you rely on a precise timing of these goods, then an AGV is a very good option.
Yeah, because, and also taking it from the, let's say, the hardware point of view, it has less technology on board, and that makes it less prone to defects, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas an AMR has a bunch of sensors more, has higher sophisticated software, and of course all of this might be a source for disruptions or defects simply.
Yeah, I mean, what is not there cannot go wrong, right?
Yeah, that's a rule for sure.
Yeah.
So go with the easier technology in this case and simply take advantage of the high availability and high reliability. And when talking about less technology that these robots have on board, this is of course also reflected in the costs of these robots. So looking a bit towards Olli, who's the expert on that, is there some kind of rough ratio on how much cheaper an AGV is in comparison to an AMR?
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, of course, it depends always, I have to say first. But to get a little bit of feeling, usually I would say for one AMR, you can buy 3 to 4 AGVs.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a big difference. Of course, that's not the complete answer. I'm talking here about hardware prices.
Yeah.
You have to consider changes in your infrastructure. I mean, if you have to put some magnetic tape on the floor, add some reflectors and so on, you know what I mean? The initial cost might be higher. But if you have this stable use case, for sure the AGV will be much more cost effective.
Totally. So I think we can summarize here that it makes sense, or say the AGV makes sense, especially in cost-sensitive industries, which are not very volatile, basically, right?
Yeah, And Matthias, I brought a rather newer example of a cool AGV use case with me today.
Okay.
And we all know new conveyor belts, right?
Yeah.
In manufacturing, and conveyor with some steps in the assembly line, for example. And here we have a really nice possibility of the usage of AGVs, because a conveyor is 100% fixed, right? You put it
Yeah.
there and it will run there forever. If you want to change something, it's always a nightmare. It involves huge facility management involvement, a lot of costs, and so on. And using AGVs as a conveyor is a really cool use case, I would say, because you have the reliability and the conveyor style, let's say, method of transporting goods. Still, you have flexibility in terms of you can change the magnetic tape. Yeah, it's much easier than changing a conveyor belt, for example.
Yeah, totally.
You can add a station. You can you can work with intersections, and you can add a new path, an additional route, without a huge effort. And I think this is a use case which is just starting to be completely explored.
Yeah, totally. And I remember that we already had a bunch of customers where we discussed this option, right? Where back in the day, people would still tend to go with the conveyor belt due to some uncertainties when it comes to the AGV technology. But I think today it is very valid to claim that AGVs are a very good and way more flexible option to cover use cases that in the past you would use a conveyor belt for.
Absolutely. All right, you see, we found a lot of cool use cases for AGVs.
I still have one, actually.
Okay, sure.
And that would be for really heavy industry use cases.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say heavy industry, I'm talking about foundries, for example, with a lot of dust, dirt, humidity. Where again, from my experience, the lower level of technology that is on board with the AGV is bringing a benefit when it comes to the availability level and also when it comes to the reliability of this vehicle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good example.
And then one more, my final one basically for AGVs, and that also already goes into the direction of reliability actually, is that when you have really heavy loads that you transport,
Sure.
say car bodies, right, which weight up to, I don't know how many tons, but many tons. You don't want the robot to decide on route changes or do obstacle avoidance. You just want it to run reliably the same path the whole time. And that would also be, from a safety point of view, the better choice.
Also from the perceived safety point of view.
Totally.
Imagine you are an operator and you see such a heavy part with several tons moving around and you don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, scary.
Totally. So I think that these heavy load use cases are also, I would say, good picks for the AGV.
Yeah, wow. I think we should have spent the whole episode on AGV use cases because there are even more. But if you would like to touch some typical AMR use cases, I think we can switch to our mobile robots, right?
Yeah. So AMRs, in many cases, of course, cover the opposite of what an AGV would cover, right? So generally, I would say that AMRs are more suitable in environments that are prone to frequent changes, like could be the change of a layout. There could be the change of sources of destinations. There could be changes of whole production lines. And maybe also industries that are very flexible, so which do not produce the same kind of product for 15 years, but who really reshape every couple of weeks. So, I mean, that's just a very general first shot, and we can deep dive into some more specific use cases. But that would be the places I would look for AMR use cases.
Yeah, well, some people say AMRs are for companies which don't have their processes under control.
Yeah, I know. And this is a very philosophical question, actually.
Yes.
So let us know what you think about that. But I can totally understand if someone tells me that an AMR is there to cover up for topics that do not work in your physical process, or for ways that you have in your process, to go with the not the Kanban, but the Toyota production system approach.
Yes, right. Yeah, it's a nice way to cover your little process problems, for sure. Go around them, even physically.
Right, right. However, what we see, right, especially in brownfield environments,
yeah, true,
they have a layout which is dating back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, and this layout is shaped in a way that pedestrians, bicycles, forklifts, milk runs, and all bunch of other vehicles and actors shall share the same aisles. So no matter how clean and how well you would design your physical process, you would always end up with this interaction.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that also, to specify more, I would say that AMRs are really more applicable in existing brownfield environments that are not automated in or to a certain degree.
Yeah, and there are environments where these issues are part of the standard. There are persons standing around maybe somewhere, or there is a bicycle, and it's not an error. It's designed like that because you need the flexibility. And here AMRs play a great role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else do we have?
Yeah, well, I would say in general, everywhere where you have a collaborative environment with people. And I have a good example which goes into the direction what you said. Imagine the quality inspection in a plant.
Yeah.
You have some parts which, for example, in the goods receiving, they were sorted out or they have a regular check to be done. And then there are several stations for these parts where you need to do some special inspections, some checks.
Yeah.
And there, people are working at desks and they have special instruments to do that.
Yeah.
And there, only an AMR can survive, right? And it helps a lot if the people who are experts in their field can concentrate on inspecting the material instead of walking around. And these are highly paid experts, and you pay them to walk around your warehouse or quality area to bring one piece by piece to the next station. And here, these small AMRs transporting boxes, for example, are a big help, and they have no issue with going around persons who actually work there.
Yeah. No, I totally agree to this. So I think also one of the rules you could define is that highly collaborative areas where humans and robots do have touch points on different or in different areas are also totally prone for using AMRs.
Yes, absolutely. And now I have my famous, already a little bit famous example. If you really have never worked with mobile robots,
Yeah.
not with automated, not with autonomous ones.
Yeah.
I can only emphasize my suggestion: start with AMR first. They are much more interactive, much easier to implement, and you will have faster the results you want to achieve. So, what do you think about it?
I know it because you keep telling this here and there.
Yeah.
But I agree to it. And I can certainly go with this approach because the first rollout of a AGV or AMR, doesn't matter, is also a huge change management challenge, so to say, right? You have a lot of people who are very skeptical.
Yeah.
Now I got it about it.
Absolutely.
And with an AMR, I believe, and I've seen it, you can achieve great results way quicker than with an AGV implementation.
Absolutely. So again, my key message to all of you: if you want to start your automation journey, start with the autonomous mobile robot, an AMR.
That's been very clear. And I think that's a perfect round off for this 7th episode. So, quick summary in the end.
Sure. So if you want to have reliable devices which are always just in time, punctual, you're not changing a lot in your environment, take an AGV.
Right. And on the other hand, if you are operating in a highly volatile environment that is changed a lot and changed very, very often, you better go with an AMR. And or if you want to use the robot for the first time.
Exactly.
And you want to use it in highly collaborative tasks or environments, again, the AMR will be your choice. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
Wish you a great rest of the day. And we would be very happy to have you on board next Monday when we launch the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Take care and goodbye.
Hear you next Monday. Bye-bye.
This was another episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast. Visit us at automation-awakenings.com.